Hi everyone, I am Jeremy Reynolds, here continuing my series, somewhat controversial. Why I say controversial, not for me, but controversial because I'm seeing my newsfeed, I'm seeing Google searches have keywords such as property spruikers, in trouble. These things are coming up all the time. Now, as a mortgage broker and someone that both trains, coaches and mentors new mortgage brokers and works with clients on every single day, it's always been really important to me to build relationships with my clients and through that build trust, but also educate them. So this piece is really useful to the mortgage brokers, also accountants who are joining in today, but you as consumers too. Would be really simple insights, and nothing I'm saying is going to be overly complicated. However, detail is needed. What I'm talking about today and looking at some of the different regulators in Australia. So in other words, who are regulators? Those that watch the regulations, the industry watchdogs, for instance, are looking at property spruikers and are concerned, these are the words from certain regulators, are concerned with the quality of advice that they are giving. So let's establish some things here to make it clear. I'm all for people getting investment properties. I'm all for people building property portfolios. I'm all for people increasing their wealth. I'm all for people being financially sound, prepared, and having financial growth and having a financial strategy in place to do so. So nothing what I'm saying is to be taken as if to say, well, I don't think people should have investment properties. I think that's a bad idea. I think you should do. No, it can be a good idea for the right person at the right age, with the right profile, and in conjunction with the right investment strategy as well, which leads me to my point. Well, who are these property spruikers, and why are regulators concerned with the quality of advice that they are given? So there's a key word there, which is advice, also quality, another word, but let's talk about advice. Depending on what you advise your client, so recommendations, things that can lead to a client taking actions based on their particular needs, based on their circumstances, based on certain outcomes. So if you're telling them something which encourages them to take a certain action or not take a certain action, that's advice. So when advising people on purchasing very particular investment properties, on the plan, off the plan, within the state, within a geographical location, or often interstate in different locations or somewhere else, it needs to be clear there's a lot of different sections and lots of different components of advice that are to be given to a client. So as a mortgage broker, typically your mortgage broker can and should only give you advice regarding your credit. So let's make this simple. Credit, which is of a fixed term, which means your loan. They can't give advice regarding non-fixed term things such as credit cards and so forth. So a loan, so it's going to have a fixed term, it's going to involve credit, it's got an interest rate, it's a loan, right? You've got something you're paying back. So they should be giving you advice about your own individual circumstances, and first of all, about the ability to get a loan, what you could do to get the loan now or in the future. So it could be a planning session, or it could be then and there. Or also, why not to get a loan at the moment, with a documented research within those boundaries. Now, the mortgage broker can't give you advice outside that scope, so they can't give you advice about whether a certain investment, whether it's property or other, is good, bad, or indifferent, and whether that would be suitable for their needs or not. They don't have the legal capacity to do that. They don't have the educational scope to either do that. And they also can't give advice on a quality of a property. So they can't give the advice on whether it's suitable for a person, but a broker can't also give advice on a certain property and whether that's the value of the current value of the property, whether that property is going to go up in value, the estimated rent for that currently, historically, or in the future. They should not touch that. If a broker is giving advice on those particular things, this is where the broker would be scrutinised by ASIC. Why? Because the quality of the advice is outside of what they should, and they're not deemed to have the knowledge, the skill set, or the capability to give advice on those things. So if the mortgage broker you are dealing with is also working as a property investor spruiker, so a property spruiker to keep it short and prevent me getting tongue-tied, the quality of advice deemed by ASIC is insufficient. This is not to mention the level of potential biases there as well. The reason why the broker can give advice about the credit component of this is twofold. Number one, they've got qualification and authorisation that deems them by standards that they have the capability, and it has been proven that they can give good advice about loans, about quality. And they actually have to maintain those things by regular learning and components each year, which I do for my team. And that's why brokers come and work with me, because not only do I help them be successful, I help them grow and also help them adapt for the environment that they're being in. There's nothing within those qualifications that do anything regarding property investment, which leads me on to another component. It's advice regarding investment, which means for quality advice, we need to look at some other players in this realm as well. So first of all, quality can also be blurred. The water can be made muddy or murky, regardless of the educational background, the years of experience of a person, if there is a high level of bias. So now let's move on to player number two, the financial planner. To give advice on an investment strategy, which if you're talking about investment properties, talking about creating a future for yourself with investment properties, it means that there needs to be advice given on the actual investment side of that. The key word is investment and advice from a financial planner. Now, this financial advice or the financial planner should only take place by, and let's make this really clear and make it easy, this should be the representative, the financial planner of the client. Why? You need to make sure that they're representing the needs of the client. Again, they don't have this extreme bias right up here where all of their investment strategies are linked to property. Why? Because there's a financial incentive involved from the property group, or there's some other type of relationship with them. So in other words, these things, sets of advice need to be kept in their boxes and separate to remove as many biases and remove partiality as well. So the quality can be blurred by bias. Okay, next, now let's talk more about this. The property investor group, individual, whether it was, in this case, the broker as well, the financial planner, or a separate person or people. Why and how can they make predictions about the market? It happens all the time, though. They're legally not allowed to do it. They do actually communicate what types of returns properties are going to get them. Now, that's talking about investment, by the way. So here's some issues with that. Future values of the property. And if we want to make this real common language, they really can't be making assumptions about any uncertainties in the future. This will get this return, this will do this will do that. At best, they can give historical data of what's happened in an area to types of property in the past, and that can be utilised. But that information should be balanced by representatives of the client. However, what often happens from property investment groups is they use historical data and actually take that as case in point now in the future. Well, because the historical data over the last 12, 18 months, 2 years, 5, 10 years and beyond has equated to this type of result, they shoot off the cuff and say that's what's going to happen with a property in the future. Therefore, you need to make sure, and if you're ever exposed to that type of information, you need to make sure that you're not taking actions or making decisions upon those things there and then. Why? What's to say what's happened in the recent times is going to happen in the future? What's to say what happened with that property is going to get the same result with this property? So are A and B different? Is there a slight difference? Is there a different market? There's market conditions, there's environment, there's demographics, there's social changes, there's political changes, lots of difference which can occur. Now, this is not necessarily scary, but this is to make you be more shrewd when you're given advice, whether you know it's advice or not, to make sure you have got people backing you in those circumstances, which brings me to the next person in the team. You need to work with your accountant on these things as well. Why? Great thing about an accountant is that they get paid fee for service. So I know lots of accountants. I know lots of excellent accountants. I know people who've been in accounting for many more years than I've been alive. And one of the great things with an accountant, they will give you the advice, whether it's good or bad, and it won't benefit them to a greater level. Why? Because they paid a fee for their job. They're paid a fee to assist you. It's often blocked in time and energy. So therefore, if they tell you no, the bias is minimised in that situation. So in these circumstances, it is always important that these people are representing you. So your accountant, your financial planner, and your mortgage broker. If you at any time believes that there is a conflict of interest, you have every right to ask any of the parties involved. Any of the parties involved, and then get them to expressly document that back to you to show it. And if there are any conflicts of interest, they should be able to demonstrate that and provide that in written form, what they are and how those conflicts of interest are managed. Why? Because in the case of this conversation, it's about making you as the consumer receive quality advice. In other words, advice for you, which is useful, which has a minimised or mitigated bias involved, where you can utilise to make a decision. Which also leads to the next points as well. You don't have to make a decision. You can wait. No should always be an option. At no stage should you ever feel that you've been coerced into a situation, pressured, unduly followed up when you've requested not to be followed up. Why? Because if you believe you're pressured into this, there's actually other consequences and other rulings through regulators or watchdogs as well to be concerned with. So make sure you are working with the team which is representing you. No matter whether you're working with looking at a property through a property investment group or on your own or through a real estate agent, make sure you've got your team of people with you as opposed to taking advice and saying, we've got the planner here, we use our person here, use that. That way, it can be quite difficult. Hope I've helped you today. I'm sure I've opened your eyes up a little bit. Please, if you have any questions about this and you'd like a bit more in-depth information, perhaps you've met with a group, potentially you're wanting someone impartial to that transaction, I can put you in touch and work with people with accountants, as well as mortgage brokers who will be completely removed from those property investment groups, because as we always say in my group, we don't take commissions from property investment groups ever, as a rule, to make sure that what the advice we're giving represents your needs, because we think we get paid very well for doing our jobs. and our jobs in the space of accounting as well as mortgage broking. I'm Jeremy Reynolds. Please let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I'd love to have a chat with you and explain things further. I can be reached on 1300 541 777 or on my Facebook page or on YouTube as well. Take care, everybody.